And we're back. This is once again Gerald Glassford from the Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly want to thank you for sticking around and listening in on the show. And I'll tell you what, it's a great time for superhero movies indeed, with all the stuff that's going on, with the huge success of Black Panther, with the incredible success in 2017 in Wonder Woman, and also as well Captain Marvel coming up, and even a Black Widow movie on the horizon that's pretty much a done deal from all, from what I hear with the rumors abound. I just had the chance to, I just had this feeling come over me to see what we can do to talk about the empowerment of women on film when it comes to superhero movies, because this is something that's long overdue. We're obviously seeing it now with the Dora Milaje in Black Panther, and then also as well, like I said, with Wonder Woman. And who better to talk to than someone who really is into pop culture? She is the host of the Nutty Bites podcast. You got to catch it today on nimtas.org. That's nimtas.org.
Nope.
No?
NIMLAS. Nimlas.
Oh, Nimlas, not org. See, there you go. Thank goodness for post. and my poor eyesight. Nimlas.org. That once again, it is nimlas.org. NIMLAS.org. It's Nutty Nuchtchas. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. And that's Nutty Nuchtchas. See, I told you I'd blow it. But I really appreciate you coming by, and I really want to get a perspective from people who are really into the superhero environment and pop culture, like my co-host Josh and I are, but to get it from a woman's perspective. Not only just the fact that I have two daughters that are so huge into Marvel right now, and I hear their perspective all the time, but I wanted to know exactly, your thoughts on exactly the environment and landscape, as opposed to what the old past and what is expected now from everyone in regards to women in superhero movies going forward.
Well, there's one thing that you forgot to mention, and it's not a movie, but it's a TV show. Jessica Jones is
absolutely
huge this past year. And I think that has been a big influence. I mean, we've got Wonder Woman making a big splash. We've got Jessica Jones making a big splash. And Black Panther with all of the female empowerment that's going on over there. And it's more important because it's not white females, which is great.
The Dora Milaje, absolutely. Yeah. But also, Nita, we both forget, although sometimes people seem to have a tendency to forget, the CW with Supergirl and all the great 15,000 DC shows that they have on there. But actually, it is a great time for women empowerment. And I want to just know, what is so encouraging about what's going on in today's superhero realm?
So it's encouraging, but at the same time, there's a bit of not enough that's going on. I mean, how long have we been asking for a Black Widow movie? I think it's been asked since the first Avengers. And, there was a huge controversies going on where you would go and you'd want to buy the toys and it would have all the Avengers, but no Black Widow. And Black Widow can show up in everybody else's movie, but she can't get her own.
I will tell you a story that's how my girls got involved so heavily with Marvels. They saw that tremendous scene that she's in the Avengers when they were very young, and they saw her climb onto the Centauri ship and take it over and fly that herself. And they, right there and then, they were just fell in love with the Marvel product. And you were talking about Age of Ultron with the toy set involved that had, in the movie, she comes out of it. In the toy, she doesn't.
Yeah. And there's so many times that you've got these things happening. One of the things that was really exciting, by the way, I was at a store the other day and I saw that there was a Black Panther set, and I said, look, they included the women. This is amazing. Finally, how many times that you go and buy an Avengers t-shirt and it's missing Black Widow. a member of my family has a child who is on the spectrum, and he loves the Avengers, and even he notices that somebody's missing. And so he loves the one that has them all on there. And you need to have everyone on the team. And it's infuriating when somebody who is so core to the team is left out. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But we're starting to get some more every now and then in pop culture, we get these bursts of female empowerment. In the 90s, we had Buffy, we had Xena, we had some really good, positive role models, and then it kind of crept back a little. Every time
Yeah.
that we go, as they say, two steps forward, hopefully it's only one step back, but sometimes it's two steps back. Sometimes
Because it started out with Xena actually being actually Hercules was being mentioned first and foremost and more prominent. Then all of a sudden the ratings started to turn out and turn around towards Xena, and at the end, Xena was much higher rated than what Hercules was doing.
It was a much better show than Hercules, and I love them both. I mean, I watched the original movies that Kevin Sorbo made before it became a full series, so I was into that right from the get go. But Xena, as soon as she was on the scene, it was boom. That is a fantastic character, and Lucy Lawless played her so well. And it really gave people somebody to look at and say, this is really interesting. And part of the thing that I think works is, with Hercules, it was an adaptation of an established character. I mean, even though he's nothing like Hercules from the myths, with Xena, they got to create their whole backstory. They got to do everything that they wanted to do. And that was really fantastic. But you have to remember, she was originally just a guest star. And then she got her own show, and it was so fantastic of a guest star that people wanted to see more of that. So
Absolutely.
like I said, in the 90s, we had a little bit of this, and then things went back, and it feels frustrating because we're constantly having to fight for this. So anytime the ball starts to get rolling, we want more. We want to see more of it. Wonder Woman was fantastic because it wasn't just, oh, it's a female superhero. It was, no, it's not just her. She's not the token female, which is what happens in a lot of these movies. I mean, if you look at the Golden Age comics, I mean, you've got a group, the Justice League, there's one woman, you've got the Avengers, there's one woman. You look at all of these different groups, I mean, even the Fantastic Four, it's three guys and one woman. So there's this tokenism. There's a name for that. I forget what it is, but the theory rests on the whole like Smurfette complex or the Miss Piggy complex. They're all men, and then there's just one woman. Whereas in Wonder Woman, yes, she was going to go and she was going to join a group of men, but she came from an island of women, and they got that right according to the comics. And not just getting that little backstory, we got to see a battle with them, and we got to see older women. We got to see women that weren't in their 20s fighting and kicking butt. When Robin Wright lands and there's thigh jiggle, it's fantastic, because so often when there are female superheroes, they're there to titillate. They're there to wear the tiny costumes. If you've ever seen, there's this meme called the Hawkeye Initiative, and it's basically taking covers of comic books of female characters, and it's Hawkeye drawn doing those poses, and they look ridiculous. There's the classic Mary Jane from Spider-Man sitting in an impossible way holding this coffee cup, or the Spider Gwen with her butt in the air and like almost a Valena pose, and it's ridiculous. So you've got Hawkeye doing that pose, which points out the absurdity of it. So often these comic book characters, it's what's their outfit look like? Are they hot? Oh, they have to be wearing high heels because that makes sense. And it's very frustrating. So to see this older woman land and have a full shot of her thigh jiggling, it's not something that we're used to seeing, and we need to see more of that. And like I said earlier with Black Panther, we're seeing now it's not just white women that are getting the representation, because apparently pop culture seems to think, oh, we're talking about women as long as they're all white, and that's not good enough. I actually am sad that the Miss Marvel is going to be Carol Danvers, because I would love to see a Kamala Khan movie. You give me a Kamala Khan movie, I would lose it. Or give me a CW series with Kamala Khan. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I hear you. And I'll tell you what, as I said in our previous episodes where we talk and review Black Panther, both Josh and I did say that the Dora Milaje is one of the highlights of the actual movie itself. Lupita Nyong'o and obviously the actress Denai. She is just incredible playing her. Obviously she's incredible playing Michonne in The Walking Dead, and there's no messing with her at all, I can tell you. But they just created environment, and obviously Angela Bassett. She's just always incredible, radiant on screen as always. Just truly a tremendous performance as well.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that we need to see. And getting back to the whole idea of it not being there, the characters not being there to titillate, but to serve a purpose. Jessica Jones, she wears boots, jeans, and a leather jacket for most of her series. There's a couple sex scenes which are pretty awesome and hot, but it's not about a skin tight costume. It's not about looking perfect. It fits the character, and that's what I want to see. Black Panther, you've got the characters, everything is fitting. There's that one conversation of, you would make a great queen if you weren't so stubborn, and it's, no, I would make a great queen because I am stubborn. And then he starts to argue, and she's like, but only if I wanted to be queen. And there's so many layers right there. That's what we need to see. We need more of all of that.
Absolutely. Once again, it's Nutty Nuchtchas from the Nutty Bites podcast, which you can actually catch right now on nimlas.org. That's nimlas.org. You got to catch her great shows today. Any chance you get, believe me, it's definitely worth it. I got to ask you, Nutty, I know you've heard the rumors, like I said, in regards to a Black Widow movie. A writer's been already hired for it. It's a long overdue, as someone who has two daughters that just truly, absolutely adore the character. So it most likely will be added to the Marvel lineup at any point in time. You obviously see Ant-Man and the Wasp. The Wasp is now becoming a Evangeline Lilly, a major part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I believe I told you about, before we went on, the rumors of some of the leading ladies in the Marvel Universe coming together to talk to Kevin Feige and propose a possible all-female-led superhero movie. What are your thoughts on that? And from sense I have a feeling you're going to say it won't come soon enough.
I'd be into it. I'd be good for that, as long as they pushed everything that they need to push. I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical about these things happening, just as I am skeptical about this Black Widow movie. I'm going to tell you that right now. I have been waiting for Wonder Woman for over 20 years. So I am skeptical about plans until I see that people are not, even filming's not enough. Until I see his trailer, I have a hard time believing. But I would love it. I think that unfortunately, there is, in this climate, people judge things really harshly. I'm going to point out the female Ghostbuster movie. Okay. A lot of hate came for that movie, but honestly, it was a pretty good movie. And if you compared that without your nostalgia glasses, take off the nostalgia glasses, set the original Ghostbusters in its time and the female-led Ghostbusters in our time, pretty much similar kind of movies in their style of humor and comedy. And it wasn't just we're just swapping the genders and they're the same characters. They created all new characters for these characters. So I dug it. And I think, unfortunately, it was judged really harshly. Give me an all-female team-up movie. that could be fantastic. I want it handled right. I want it done well. I want everybody getting paid the way that they would, if they were Avengers. And I want to see it. I want to see it. And I think it would be fantastic. But I do predict that there's going to be a bunch of fanboys out there who are like, oh, this sucks. It's not as good as the Avengers.
Well, that unfortunately, that negativity and that trolling seems to be. I mean, take a look at what happened with the Last Jedi and all that, and just that it goes from there. It's totally unnecessary, totally unwarranted. But yes, just
And
like there was
nothing new because they had the same problem with Empire.
yes, and I'll tell you what, it's just very disappointing that that takes place. I know a lot of people were worried about that happening with Black Panther, but the movie itself has been able to overcome it. I know also as well on the DC side, I've heard that right now the Gotham City Sirens is off the table. I also heard that Joss Whedon has already left the Batgirl series because he wanted to do it, but really didn't have a plan on how to do it. So I guess maybe that's okay because if you don't have a great idea or great concept for Batgirl, you don't want it to fail.
Hey, and it's better than the reason that he was kicked off Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's true. That's true indeed. But I want to ask you, speaking of Wonder Woman, this leads to my question as far as DC is concerned. Because Wonder Woman 2 is just about ready to get started in filming. DC has a lot of hopes now behind Wonder Woman. With the failure of Justice League, Wonder Woman 2 seems to be the film that they're keying back into as far as a film to basically propel the DC universe back into relevance, contention, whatever you want to phrase it as. What are your hopes for Wonder Woman 2, and what do you think it will be as far as a movie that will expand the Wonder Woman universe?
So I haven't been paying too much attention on, the filming or the scripting or anything like that. But as long as we continue to have, females working on female projects, I have high hopes. And that's another thing that I was going to be bringing up because, everyone was like, oh, yay, Joss Whedon, Batgirl. Okay. But can we go like Jessica Jones style with season 2? Because Jessica Jones season 2, it's going to be all female directors and female writers. And let's get some women working on these projects because guess what? They delivered for Wonder Woman, didn't they? And we can get some amazing work. And why are all these female led films just missing it? Well, maybe because they're being written by men. And I'm not saying that men can't write women. Some of them definitely can, and we've seen some good stuff. But at the same time, just as we see an inequality of who we're seeing on our movies, who's playing these characters, there's a huge inequality behind the camera. And I think that if you want a good movie, you need to make sure that the people who are doing the writing and the directing and everything behind the scenes are true fans. And on the other side are people that can relate to the characters and to the story and to the subject.
I couldn't agree with you more on that because, like I said earlier, that Joss Whedon stepped aside because he really didn't have a plan. He just wanted to do it, but didn't have a plan, which leads me to believe that there are other great opportunities for others as far female writers, female directors who could probably go and make a better Batgirl movie, but I'm not even sure about that because DC has proven over the past 5 years that they have not been able to consistently get things done in the DC movie universe outside of Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman seems to be this bright hope and this one instance where everything clicked. And I personally, as someone who watches all these films, don't have much faith in anything DC is doing outside the Wonder Woman realm. And am I wrong in thinking that? Or
no, I'm complete agreement here. I mean, even some of, my listeners know that I love the original Tim Burton Batman, by the way. Really dug that movie. That was great. That Michael Keaton is the best Bruce Wayne out there. He's not the best Batman, but he's best Bruce Wayne. But generally DC sucks at live action movies. They're animated, great. And they trounce Marvel when it comes to animated. You look at the animated movies or and this is it was all started with the kickoff of Batman the animated series. That's when they got really good with the animation. But their live action, they're missing the point. They don't have the whimsy, they don't have the hope. And it's like the people working on the films are trying to make films, not comic book movies. They're not true fans of the franchise. They're missing what makes those characters great. Superman is not all serious and doom and gloom, he doesn't brood. Uh he's
Justice
supposed to
League
be
shouldn't have not been that dark unless it's
yeah.
called Justice League Dark.
He's supposed to be a beacon of hope. The best thing about Justice League, I think, was the Flash. I mean, there we had the whimsy, we had the wonder, the oh my gosh, this is so cool. Look who I'm hanging out with. Hey, what's your superpower? I'm rich. There were a couple of really fun things there, but the problem is they're trying to make things dark where they don't have to be dark. DC, your dark superhero is Batman. Everybody else has to be light. Batman can't be dark and he looks stupid if he's dark and everybody else is dark. He has to be different. And it's frustrating. Whereas Marvel, they're knocking it out of the park because they say, "Oh, yeah, talking raccoon, talking tree, sure. Let's throw him in a movie. Let's have fun with it. Oh, let's make all these crazy 80s jokes and all these pop culture references. Yeah, let's have fun with it." And that's why they're doing well because they're having fun with their films.
Definitely, indeed, if I'm just worried about Wonder Woman 2, and I may be wrong in sensing that, but if you've got Patty Jenkins there and everybody
Yeah.
else aboard that are going to be able to work on the film without restrictions from DC or Warner Brothers, then I think at least you have a very, very solid chance of recreating that magic once again and making sure, or at least putting another foothold for women's empowerment in the superhero movie genre, along with like we said, Captain Marvel, and keeping my fingers crossed, and so are my girls, and I know you are as well, for a Black Widow movie, and like I said, maybe it will culminate in an all-female superhero film. I will watch it, and I know a lot of people will too. Despite any grief or any trolling or anything of that nature, I think it will, if it decides to come to fruition, be a great success for Marvel, because right now they can do almost no wrong.
Well, and let's admit it, like a movie's gotta do something really bad for us comic book geeks not to go and watch it. I mean, I saw Suicide Squad in the theaters and I knew it wasn't going to be that good. Now, granted, it had its moments and I had fun with it. I would love to see it under a different edit and a little bit different direction. But I still went and saw it. Now, didn't see Batman versus Superman in theaters, didn't see the horrible Chris Nolan Superman movies in the theater. That's where they're doing it drastically bad, and I know that I'm not going to have fun with that. But whereas everything else, I'm going to go see it in the theater because I'm a fan. I can't help it.
There you go, indeed. Once again, it is Nutty Nuchtchas. You gotta catch her great Nutty Bites podcast when it comes around, or when you actually get a chance to see it, on nimlas.org. That's nimlas.org. Any last thoughts on the way out, or anything else that you're working on? Because I read, when looking at your bio, it's got you going, blogger, podcaster,
Yeah.
editor. It's like a lady of all trades. You got to tell everybody else what's going on in your world.
Currently, we are in the middle of a project I like to call Daily Creativity. So for the extent of Lent, every day I create a piece of art and I post it on my blog, and you can see all of the different drawings and paintings and various pieces of art that I have made. And the rules are, as long as I haven't spent more than a single day working on it, I can post it up there. Now, generally, I'm not going to spend the whole day working on this art, but it's one of these things where I've got a lot of pieces where I'll work on it and then I'll come back to it later, and then I'll work on it, come back to it. Those don't make the daily creativity. These are all just very fresh, very one day kind of things, and a lot of it has to do with like what I've been thinking about that day and what's going on. Some of them are totally light and fluffy. It's like I'm drawing my dragon dressed as a superhero. You gotta see him. He's all the different Avengers, and he's fantastic. I think one of my favorites is he's dressed as Deadpool and Deadpool is dressed as him. and they're posing together for a selfie. It's a lot of fun. And then some of them are a lot more serious. I've got some really nice figure studies and nudes, and I've got some really intense shading work done on like various animals. I've got some trippy elements going on. Everything's different. It just depends on my mood and what I'm feeling that day. So go check that out at nimlas.org. You can find everything that you need to find up there. You just look for the different section, daily creativity. You just click on that and you'll go there. You can find my podcast, Nutty Bites. And one of the little projects that we've been working on there is we're doing something called an introcast, where somebody who hasn't seen something ever before is being introduced to it. And so my co-host and I, Tech, we had never seen the Studio Ghibli movies, and we're being introduced to them by the hosts of the Talk Nerdy to Me crew. And so every month or 2 months or whatever, whenever we can get around to watching a movie, we get together, we watch a Studio Ghibli movie, and then we record our reactions to it with longtime fans. And it's a lot of fun. And with Nutty Bites, we just finished recording an episode about movie adaptations, books or movies, which are better. And we talk about some movies that are actually better than the books and some books that are better than the movie. And yeah, we always got different topics going on, but you can also find links to the other podcasts that I do, Game of Thrones stuff. I've done music shows. I'm guesting everywhere. I'm all over the place.
There you go. She's in demand indeed. Once again, it's Nutty Nuchtchas. You can find all of her great stuff today on nimlas.org. That's NIMLS. Excuse me, that's NIMLAS.org. Nutty, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and you're always welcome back to talk about anything in pop culture.
That'd be great. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much again, and we truly appreciate you being part of the pop culture cosmos.